What's up, y'all? One Piece, One Life here, and guys, have y'all ever wondered, ever considered, ever posited, what is the best duo in One Piece? And by duo, I'm defining that as two characters whose dynamics, personalities, strengths, weaknesses, everything plays off each other so well. Almost as if those two characters were made by Oda to mesh together in such a perfect way. I was really thinking about this question earlier when I was like, there are a lot of duos in One Piece that I could use. So why not make a video about it? And that's what we're here to do today. So without further ado, let's get into the top 20 duos in One Piece explained. But before we get into it, guys, please, y'all know the drill. Like the video, subscribe to the page for more One Piece content just like this, and share it around with all your friends who love One Piece. Let's get it going. Now, right at the gate, there's two types of groups that I'm gonna be excluding from this video, and I just kind of want to explain why. The first type of group that I'll be excluding is, save for one, any Straw Hat duos, and especially no Luffy x another Straw Hat duo. Now, the reason for this is because they're literally the main characters. They're the ones that we follow the entire time. So no matter what dynamic you put out from any of that combination of 10 characters, it's just going to be on the list. It doesn't matter who you match. You could say Brook and Zoro. You can say Nami and Usopp. Hell, you could say Jinbei and Frankie and they'll find something. And Jinbei just joined. The second type that I'll be excluding is any captain first mate dynamics. Now, the reason for this is because, again, they would all make the cut. And I personally think that it's because Oda is so good at writing sun and moon characters, like a bright captain and the supporting first mate kind of character. Oda's so good at writing those. We already know all the kinds of examples that there are in the story of that. Luffy and Zoro, Kid and Killer, Kaido and King, Roger and Rayleigh, Shanks and Beckman. I don't even need to go on because for practically every pirate crew that has a captain and a clear second, you're gonna see that dynamic emerge. And again, I'm looking for people with more of an equal keel to make it more fun. So with that out of the way, let's get into the actual picks. And you'll see what I mean by fun right now. That's because number 20, guys, is gonna be Sabo and Koala. Now, immediately, I know a lot of people would say,
Sabo and Koala in the top 20? That's crazy.
But guys, let's really think back on all the times that Sabo and Koala interacted. It was so great seeing them together on Dressrosa, seeing how they played off of each other and kind of leading into the whole Koala has a crush on Sabo. Maybe Sabo likes her back, who knows? You have the way that they were so cutely arguing during Robin's flashback of trying to learn Gigante Floor, and then how genuinely terrified for Sabo's life Koala was when first they read the newspaper saying that Sabo killed Cobra, and then again after Sabo cut out. I personally feel like that's just something that works. Like, you see them together, right? Like, there's no way they don't get together, right? Like, I know Oda said that he wasn't gonna really focus on romance, but that's for the Straw Hats. Now, coming in at 19 is a duo that I think is purely on there for their comedy, and that's Buggy and Mr. 3. Now, the thing about Buggy and Mr. 3 is that both of them are notoriously weak, but that doesn't stop them from teaming up in Impel Down and then going to join the literal war of the best. Like, they give the vibe of those two kids that really like to cause trouble, but when the adults are around, they actually run away terrified. And now some people will be like, well, Buggy is an emperor now, and Mr. 3 was his right-hand man for the longest time. But I don't really view Mr. 3 as a right-hand man. And that's why it's so sad that now that Cross Guild is formed, Mr. 3 was like, I ain't never said I joined you. I was tagging along. Damn, man. Damn. But continuing on the Buggy trend, we're gonna have Buggy and Shanks in 18. Now, this is one that is more so carried by their flashback selves than their current story selves. Because of course in the current story, you have the brief reunion of theirs where at the end of the Paramount War, Shanks wants Buggy to give Luffy his hat back and tricks him. It just goes to show that he, knows his friend even after so much time. But I think that the flashback sequence with Roger's flashback really portrays their friendship. Because if you think about it, you have Buggy becoming incredibly sick, such to the point that he can't even go to the final journey with the rest of them. And Shanks, as his best friend, as his fellow apprentice, says, no, I'll stay with you, let's go. Then later on, we can find the One Piece together. For that mentality of Shanks is the golden boy and I'm okay with that, to persist all the way through their like middle teenage years. Then when Roger dies, Shanks is like, I'm not going after it right now. And that really broke Buggy. Like, we saw that in one of the more recent chapters. That was something that actually impacted his view of Shanks and his view of the world. And we know that they're just poised to meet again as emperors. Like, it's coming. Now at number 17, it's gonna be Kinemon and Denjiro. I think that is just hilarious how when so many people know that Kinemon is just straight lying about having a plan, Denjiro's like, oh yes, all according to your plan. Great one. Like, how Denjiro is so powerful and yet so stupid, like, shocks me. I mean, he be thinking that Kinemon is playing 4D chess. Kinemon's not even on the board. But I don't know, I just put that a bit higher because I personally found it hilarious. But coming in at 16 is one that I less so find hilarious and just more so find interesting for lore purposes, and that's Big Mom and Kaido. Now Big Mom and Kaido, we all know their stories. They met on the Rocks crew, and Big Mom was kind of like an older sister to Kaido. And Big Mom was even the one who gave Kaido his devil fruit after we just saw her in one of the more recent chapters snatching it from Ivankov. Which, side note, imagine if Big Mom grabbed the wrong fruit and we just had a hormone-induced Kaido running around. I don't know, I just think that'd be kind of funny. But nah, they're truly Yonko rivals. I mean, they fought for what, 3 days and 3 nights? And then randomly decided the day after, oh, we're gonna form the strongest pirate alliance ever? Not to mention that roof piece against the two of them is one of the greatest sequences of the One Piece anime, and one of the best battles in the manga too. Now moving on to 15, we have Rayleigh and Gaban. Now Rayleigh and Gaban is gonna be the start of a trend on this list of seeing the kind of wings of another leader be somewhat equal. I really just love that wing dynamic. But the thing I love even more about Rayleigh and Gaban is that as far as we know, they don't seem to be bickering all the time like certain others that we'll get to. Like, they genuinely just seem like responsible people, both of them looking out after Roger. Watching them fight during the extended Oden's flashback that we got in the anime, and even just watching them take the charge against the Whitebeard pirates, that was it just made me happy for some reason that I have yet to know. I think part of it is me really wanting Scalper Gaban to come back in the story. But I think that when we eventually get the Roger flashback, which I feel like at this point just has to happen, we're gonna definitely be seeing a lot more of that dynamic. Now number 14 is gonna go to Oden and Roger. So here, even though Oden is Roger's subordinate, Roger doesn't really see him as that, as opposed to, you know, just a brother. There was something really whimsical about the way that Oden told us Roger's story. I really liked seeing a version of Roger's story, but through Oden's perspective. It really set the stage for maybe even a continued series of, we see Roger's flashback, but through Rayleigh's perspective, through Gaban's, through Shanks's and Buggy's even. But besides that, you really see Roger taking it upon himself, bowing down to Whitebeard and saying, without Oden, I don't think I can go beyond. And Oden himself being like, I want to accompany you there. I want to help you get there. That brotherhood is strong. And I hope it persists in whatever version of the One Piece heaven that those guys are in. Next up, we have Garp and Sengoku. So we know a lot about Garp and Sengoku, right? These old heads in the Marines who have been basically the two faces of the Marines for as long as most people can remember. Obviously, Garp is the hero of the Marines, but let's not forget that Sengoku up there too. I mean, it was the two of them coming together that beat back Golden Lion Shiki. And we all watch Strong World. We know how strong Shiki is. Also love their dynamic where Garp is more, you know, free-spirited, doing what he wants, while Sengoku's the more grounded one. But that isn't in a leader and follower context. In fact, it's kind of reversed. Sengoku is technically Garp's superior, but they're such close friends that to them it doesn't even matter. And also, Akainu fans, let's not forget that Sengoku saved your man's life on that battlefield. But of course, we have to continue with the Garp train and talk about the greatest, the pinnacle of Garp duos, being Roger and Garp. The only thing I gotta say is God Valley. This is how you know that Oda's writing is different, because how have we barely, if ever at all, seen an event, just heard the names implied in it, and know already that it's going to be one of the greatest battles in the manga. Roger and Garp versus Rocks, when it happens, is going to break the internet. But in fact, I can continue and say another thing that proves that their dynamic, their bond is strong, and that's Ace. Imagine you're a policeman and you have a particular bandit rival that you've been chasing your entire professional career. Now imagine that as you finally catch that man, though you know that you didn't catch him because he turned himself in, as he's dying and as you go to see him in jail, he says, "Yo, you got my baby, right?" And Garp did, in fact, have his baby. Not like literally, because you know what I mean. Garp raised his quote-unquote enemy's son as his own grandson. Like, it just really goes to show people, regardless of pirate, marine, what side they're on, they can have that bond. That even may be projecting to Luffy and Kobe's eventual growth. Then we have Shanks and Mihawk. Now there's a few reasons that I like the Shanks and Mihawk dynamic. One is that we know that their sword battles were legendary. They rang throughout the New World, as Whitebeard used to say. So imagine if we got to see even a glimpse of that. How crazy, how powerful do you think that their combined haki is? But we see that they're rivals in the truest sense of the word, where yes, they're going to fight and they're going to do their hardest to win. But at the end of the day, they'll still chill together. They'll still drink. They'll still have fun. Even though Mihawk doesn't really know how to do that. But really, the main reason I really like it is just because of the debates it be causing. The Shanks versus Mihawk sword skill debate is to this day my second favorite agenda piece option that there is. Because now you have people willing to die on hills about whether Shanks' haki counts as him being a swordsman. But oh no, Mihawk has to have the same kind of haki in order to match with Shanks. Like, when are we gonna realize it doesn't really matter? I say that, but at the same time, I still find it hilarious. Hands up. Breaking into the top 10 now, we have Roger and Whitebeard. Now this is actually the pinnacle of what it means to be rivals. We saw that with their clash on that random island during the Oden flashback. Their level of strength, knowing that the other could wipe out their crew if he really wanted to. So he has to be the person to occupy the other. But at the same time, they're smiling because they're having fun. They know that the other one is strong and that this is just a good match. And then all for that's for their crews to just come together after 3 days of fighting and just have a big old party. Like, y'all don't understand. Whitebeard really could have been the second Pirate King. Roger literally said at their last meeting, "I will tell you what it is and where it is if you want." But you know, that's just not what Whitebeard was about. Number 9, I'm gonna go with Luffy and Kid. I hate to have to bring up Kid in one of my videos, but I have to admit that the Luffy and Kid dynamic is hilarious. Like, ever since we got the first glimpse of it in Wano with the original glare of each other in the prison, and then the Udon prison sequence, they were just treating it like a training arc, seeing who can carry more, who can like eat more, all that kind of stuff. But the thing that I like about Luffy and Kid is that Kid is Luffy if he went on a slightly darker path. Like, you can really truly see the similarities between their two methods of doing things, which is really, you know, just straight violence. And I don't know, Luffy react to finding out that Kid is dead when they go to Elbaf because Shanks killed him. And I don't care what y'all say, Shanks killed him. I at the very least can't see Luffy caring, but I guess we'll see. Also, even the sequences on the roof was hilarious. Like, you know, when Luffy, Law, and Kid were, you know, inching away from the fireball, that game was hilarious. In a similar vein and kind of playing off of that, we're gonna just talk about Law and Kid next, because theirs is even better in my opinion, because you have the entire fight with Big Mom just being both of them trying to get credit for who's doing more. Because you have, on one hand, Kid being like, "I got the big attacks, so you distracted for me," and Law being like, "I am not your opening act." But their fight with Big Mom themselves was actually really great. I think both of them pulling out as much stops as they can with both of their simultaneous awakenings and doing as much as they possibly could to try and bring down Big Mom, which again, we know that they did not do. It really shows that when two members of the worst generation come together, they can really make a change. But my favorite part of that fight had to definitely be when Kid pulled out the Punk Cornadillo, that bull thing, slammed Big Mom with it, and then Law immediately goes, "Oh, what's next? A rhino? A hippo?" In number 7, we're gonna have Luffy and Ace. I think that, honestly, this dynamic right here shows really what it means to be brothers but not by blood. Like, despite the fact that they have different dads, despite the fact that they know they're not blood related, they still act like brothers. That's what's really amazing. They're like, you are the people I care about the most. Well, Luffy said that about both Ace and Sabo, but particularly with Luffy and Ace, you are the person I care about the most. So much so that I'm willing to put my journey on hold and charge into a war of the strongest characters in our universe just to save you. I think that the Paramount saga, for the most part, was really well written, because the whole thing by that point was Ace's inner turmoil of, should I even have existed? Is it a sin for me to exist because my dad is the Pirate King? Did I deserve to live at all? And with Luffy being the focal point of, yes, we do love you, we do care for you. Number 6, I'm giving to Bartolomeo and Cavendish. Now, I can't lie, it's been a long time since I watched or read Dressrosa. However, from what I remember, this to me was really, really funny, and is for one reason exactly. Oda tried to reverse the Zoro and Sanji dynamic while still having it, and making it the most hilarious thing I've ever seen attempted in this manga. Cause Zoro is green hair swordsman and Sanji is high durability blonde. And Oda says, what do? Let's switch that. So now we have Bartolomeo, a green haired high durability person, well, with his devil fruit, and then Cavendish, a blonde swordsman. And how seamlessly the two of them just immediately click together in terms of the bickering, but then also realizing that it's bigger than the two of them. To be fair, I do have to go back to Dressrosa to pick out even more instances, but from what I do remember, it was pretty great. Now we're breaking into the top 5, and I have to put Luffy and Law at 5. There's just so much you can say about the Luffy and Law dynamic. You can really tell Luffy considers Law as much a part of his crew as any of the others, despite him not being an official member. Like, Luffy was willing to go the whole 9 yards for Law, even after Luffy found out that it was a personal thing. Luffy let Law travel with them for so long. In exchange, Law too had his own moments of, insight, wisdom, just the kind of dynamics that he brings to the Straw Hats. And then, of course, you can't forget the most goated scene of Punk Hazard, which is when Luffy said, "You gonna betray me?" And he said, "Nah." And Luffy said, "Alright, number 4, I'm gonna give it to Inuarashi and Nekomamushi." For me, the reason that I really like this is because Oda really played on the literal of what it means to have a cat and a dog. Like the idiom fighting like cats and dogs, he took that so literally, and I love it. It can be played for gags where you have them disagreeing about, kind of feudal stuff. But then it gets heightened when you realize that they each have their own corners of the Zou tribe that they have to lead. And differences come through that too. But then also, I think that this is one of the closest attempts to having a Zoro-Sanji-esque relationship that we have in the series. But not as much as the number 3 pick, which is gonna go to King and Queen. Now, these guys are hilarious because unlike a lot of other people on this list, I think I can say that they actually do hate each other. Like, King just be regularly telling Queen to die. Like, it's nothing. That's just a Tuesday for him. I really like their dynamic because no matter how much they fight against each other, you know that they gonna put Jack down. I think that their tag fight against Zoro and Sanji was a really good stretch of chapters or sequences, just because it goes to show you okay, we know Zoro's gonna end up fighting King, we know Sanji's gonna end up fighting Queen, but how do they pair together? And then of course you have the time when they together got their butts handed to them by the MVP of Onigashima, Marco the Phoenix. But now, before we get into number 2 and number 1, I'm just gonna have to say sorry because I lied. The top 2 are indeed Straw Hat dynamics. Number 2 is Nami and Robin. And listen, I think we all know why. For real though, I think that the fact that they're the only 2 women on the Straw Hats gives them a bond that's unlike most of the others. Because you have Nami as the more whimsical younger sister, while Robin is the more endearing older sister, but not overbearing. I just love seeing the top 2 women in One Piece interact together because it's always but also But of course, guys, number 1 is Zoro and Sanji. I mean, we knew it had to be. Look at the amount of times I referenced them when comparing the others on this list. But to me, that's because Zoro and Sanji is literally the peak of not just duos in One Piece, but the kind of dynamics I look for in characters, period. I love characters that are on somewhat equal footing, constantly rivaling and battling it out to try and prove which one is superior. Such to the point, yeah, you think that they may hate each other, but that's because you know that when the chips are down, they both got each other's back. Look no further than the Groggy Ring. That was such a cold sequence because they said, yo, these guys are serious. Let's work together for 10 seconds and we can take them down. And that is exactly what they did. Like, again, during them two versus king and queen fight, the way that they knew that they could handle the one they were handling because the other was going to take care of the other. Like, I just really liked that masterful teamwork, especially when Marco said it's time for the wings to take the stage. I think that really encapsulates what they are, the wings of the future Pirate King. They're the two that are gonna propel Luffy up. Even Robin said it. And yeah, I know that there's the whole Zoro versus Sanji debates, and yes, I'm a Sanji fan, and yes, I clown Zoro fans. But what we can't forget is that there's a reason that they are the best duo in One Piece, and that's because it's not of the times when they're apart, but it's the times of when they're together. I really think I said something pretty philosophical there. I hope you took note. So there you have it, guys. Those are what I believe to be the top 20 duos of the One Piece story. Do y'all agree with any of my picks or disagree? Is there a duo that's off this list that you think should be on it? Let me know all that good stuff in the comments. So that's the end of the video, y'all. Now, please, guys, y'all already know what to do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel for more One Piece content just like this, and share it around with all your friends who love One Piece. Remember, I'm trying to make a community, but I need your help to do it. Now that's gonna be all from me. I'll catch you on the next one, and always remember, One Piece, one life. You know, part of me wanted to put Nami and Zeus on this list somewhere, but having one of the top 20 duos in the series be Nami and her glorified weather stick, that would be setting the bar kind of low. And I know some people are gonna say, well, Sabo and Koala set the bar pretty low. I like the ship, okay? Get over it.